All right, welcome to this demonstration on Excel. So we're going to be talking about how to find percentiles, as well as, five number summaries, outliers, box plots, and cumulative relative frequency graphs. So there's a lot going on. So we're going to be doing all of this for the following data set, and I already typed in the data set, so we can take a look at it. All right, so let's do the percentile rank. So before we get started, we need to actually sort the data in order. So let's highlight the data. You're gonna select review, or you're gonna select data, and then we're gonna sort this from A to Z, from lowest to highest. All right, so now our data is sorted. Now we're able to find the percentile rank. Remember, the percentile rank formula is you take the number of values below 13, which in this case is 2, and then you divide it by the total, which in this case is 14. And you can see the total down on the bottom right when you highlight the data. So we're going to do equals. So we have two numbers before 13, and then we have 14 numbers in total, and then times 100. And that'll give us our percentile rank. Now, if we want to find the 44th percentile, you can there's a formula for actually calculating the percentile. So the formula, so you could type in equals percentile, and then you want to select your data, comma, and then you're going to type in the percentile that you want. So we want the 44th percentile, so you type in 0.44. And then enter, and that'll give you approximately what the 44th percentile is, based off of the data. Now you can calculate this the way we did it before in class, where you use the location formula. So if you were to use the location formula, you would get an answer pretty close to this, but it won't be exactly this, because these are just, the formula that we use is just an estimation. So you can use this formula just to make it easier for you. All right, so now to find the five number summary, so let's do that over here. So we need our minimum, our quartile, our first quartile, we'll call that Q1. We need our median, Q3, and our maximum. So our minimum is pretty easy to find. You type in equals minimum, MIN, parentheses, select your data, and then enter. Pretty straightforward to find. You won't actually have to use the formula because we already sorted it in order, so we already know what the min and maximum is. But just to show you how to do it, in case you want to know, equals maximum, select the data, enter, and there's your maximum. Now to find the quartiles, you can use the quartile formula. So equals quartile. Select your data, comma, and then type in 1 for first quartile, 2 for median, and 3 for third quartile. So we're typing 1 for first quartile. And then we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to type in 2 instead, comma, 2 for the median. And then repeat this for the third quartile. Select your numbers, comma, and then 3. So those are your quartiles. So now we know what they are. So now we can go ahead and calculate the interquartile range. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's do that. So IQR, you take the third quartile, which is 27.25, minus your first quartile. Make sure you type in an equal sign before the formula. And then you get 11.5. For outliers, you want to use the 1.5 IQR rule. Okay, so we're going to type in over here 1.5 IQR rule, and then we're going to do our so we know our upper fence and our lower fence. So our low outlier has to be less than, and then we have our high outlier has to be greater than. So let's calculate that. So remember the formula was equals 1.5 or equals. The formula is first quartile minus 1.5 times the interquartile range that we just found. Now you could select the numbers or you could just type them in. Either one is fine. So in this case, we get negative 1.5. And then for our high outlier, we got to do equals third quartile plus 1.5 times the interquartile range. And this is called the 1.5 IQR rule. And then so if any numbers are less than negative 1.5 or greater than 44.5, they're considered outliers. So in this case, the only number that's considered an outlier seems to be 85. So there's our outlier, 85. If there are no outliers, just write none or not applicable, and we'll be done. So now, population mean. If you want to do the population mean, you can type in equals. You just want to do the average. So the mean is nothing more than the average. So you're going to average, parentheses, select your data, close parentheses, enter. And there's your population mean. If you want to do population standard deviation, equals, then you do STDEV, and then you have two options here, S and P. So S is for sample, P is for population. So we're going to type in dot P, parentheses, then we select our numbers. Enter. There you go. Okay, so that's how you do the standard deviation. Now if you want to do the z-score, remember the formula for the z-score? And I'll just write it over here just so that you have it. The z-score is the x bar at the x minus the population mean divided by the population standard deviation. Okay, so that's the formula, but we have to actually type it in. I'm just wanted to show you what that formula is in case you forgot. So we want to do the standard deviation or the z-score for a data value of 33. So 33 right here is our x. So we do equals, and then we do parentheses. X is our 33 minus the population mean that we just found, which is 25. Close parentheses divided by population standard deviation, and that'll give us our z-score of 0.43. All right, next we want to do the box plot. So this one is a process to do. Okay, so I'll show you how to do that. How to do it. It takes some time. Okay, so first things first. In order to do the box plot, we need the 5-number summary, but we also need to calculate something else too. We need to calculate the differences. And we need that because the way Excel works, it needs the differences in order to help us do the box plot. Now, there is no dedicated box plot function in Excel. You're going to have to do this workaround in order to do a box plot. So in order to do the box plot here, you're going to calculate the differences between each of these numbers. Now, the difference between 1 and 0 is just 1. That one's easy. Now you got to do the difference between 1 and 15.75. So you got to subtract those. So equals 15.75 minus 1. Okay, enter. Do the same thing, equals 22 minus 15.75. Keep going, 27.25 minus 22, and then 85 minus 27.25. Okay, so also note we're not going to do the modified box plot for this, where you where you exclude the outlier or you mark the outlier with an X. You know, we're not going to do any of that. We're just going to do the regular box plot, not the modified box plot, because as far as I know, it might be more of a pain to actually do the modified box plot. So we're just going to do the regular one. So the maximum is 85, even though we know that that's the outlier. Okay, so let's begin. So you're going to select your data here, and then we're going to go to Insert. Then we go to the bar charts, and we want to do a 2D bar, but we want to do a stacked 2D bar, like this, the middle option. Okay, so now we got our thing. It looks nothing like a box plot currently, and that's because we need to actually switch the row and the column. So hit switch row and column, and then now you have a stacked plot. Again, it still does not look like the box and whisker plot. So we got to do a few changes here. So first thing we want to do is we want to actually, you see this minimum here, we want to make it invisible. So we don't want to see that minimum there. Okay, so let's select that minimum there, and I got to actually zoom into this to actually see this value. Okay, so then take that minimum, and we're actually going to say no fill for that. Oops, this is not what I wanted to do. Let's go back. Okay, so I wanted to make a quick change to the box plot. I selected the wrong data. So I selected this data. You should have selected the differences. So let's go ahead and make that change real quick. I apologize for that. So we got to do insert. Let's select our differences first. So that's why we calculate our differences. I forgot to select those. And then we select stacked bar 2D. And then we switch the row and the column, just like we did before. And we get something like this. All right, now let's get rid of this y-axis, this vertical category. So select that and delete it. We don't really need it. Now let's select this blue bar. Select the minimum bar, and we want to make it go away. We don't want it to be there. So what we're going to do is we're going to double click that, or you can select format, or you could select here. Let's right click it actually. So you can double click it, or you can right click it and say format data point. Either one is fine. And then we're going to select the bucket icon and put no fill. So to kind of make it go away, it's still there, but it's invisible. So that way we won't see it. Okay, so we just kind of made it white, so kind of kind of blend with the background. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to do the whiskers, right? So let me get out of this. So if you want to do the whiskers, okay. So if you want to do the error, or if you want to do the whisker, you're gonna click on this, the next box, and we're actually gonna make sure that's clicked, and then go to Add Chart Element, and then you want to add an error bar. Okay, select any one that you want. It doesn't really matter. I find that it doesn't matter. So let's just select percentage, or you can click more error bar options. So let's just do actually more error bar options. There you go. Let's do more error bar options, and then we're gonna change this to fixed value. Change this fixed value. So what do we put for that? So we put our difference that we found earlier. Okay, so we're gonna be plugging in 14.75 there. Okay, so let me go back to the value there. Change that fixed value to 14.75. Okay, so then it automatically adjusts it. Now I don't want the direction to be both. I want it to be on the minus side. All right, there you go. So that's my whisker there. All right, so now once I do that, I can go ahead and, just like I did before, I can get rid of this box and fill it, make it no fill. And that takes care of our first whisker. Okay. So now that we got that whisker, now we got the box part here. Now we need to deal with this right side. So we need a whisker for this, right side. So I'm gonna click on the box, add chart element, add error bars, select more error bar options. Again, just like we did before, this time I want to do a plus option because I want to do it on the right side. All right, oops, I selected the wrong box. I apologize. You're not supposed to select the blue box. We don't want to select the blue box. We want to select the middle box here. So let's get rid of that. Sorry, so you're not going to select the blue box. You're going to select this box here because we want the error bar for that to stick out from the yellow bar. We don't want it to stick out from the blue bar. So, because we want to get rid of that blue bar. So select the yellow bar, then do the add chart element. And then you're going to select, more error bar options. And then for the fixed value, you're going to change that to the difference that we calculated over here, 57.75. Okay, so you're going to type in 57.75, and then you're going to click the plus option. And the plus option will make a whisker on the right side. All right, we can close out of that now. And then we can get rid of this blue rectangle by double clicking it, selecting the paint bucket, and then no fill. All right, there you go. So now we got our box plot. Now if we want these to be the same color, then you just change the color accordingly. So let's say we want it to be no fill, but we want a border, a black border, then we could do that, and then do the same thing for this box, no fill, but then you can do a black border, solid line. And there you go, there's our box plot. So that's how you do a box plot in Excel. And it's sort of a workaround to actually making a box plot, but nevertheless it is a box plot. So now what we want to do, so I'm going to put this off to the side. Of course you want to adjust the title and all that.